What else? Well, I've been guilty of the sin of anger. I shouted at the children several times during the past week, as thou hast of course seen with thy all-seeing eye, and no doubt heard with thy all-hearing ear. And then again, I've committed malice on a number of occasions. I was definitely trying to hurt my sister's feelings that time. I mean on Tuesday. When my sister... this is my younger sister, Janice, I'm talking about, the one who lives just outside Watford. Oh, well, of course, thou knowest which sister I mean. I always forget that with thy all-knowing mind, thou knowest perfectly well what I mean. Far better than I do, in fact. Anyway, I was only went to see her on Tuesday, my sister, because I was over in that direction anyway, visiting Mother in the nursing home, which, as thou knowest, I try to do at least once a week. I mean, not that I want to boast about it or anything. It's the very least I can do. I feel terrible about not having her at home, as thou knowest. Or was I just slipping that into the conversation like that to make thee think better of me? Well, thou knowest whether I was or not, and... If thou thinkst I was, I repent it at once, as I try to do with all my unworthy thoughts and actions. I didn't mean that to sound smug. Oh, dear. Where was I? Before I allowed myself to get sidetracked. Another of my faults, incidentally, for which I'm extremely sorry. I was in the middle of repenting something. Oh, well, thou knowest what I was going to say. So, if I can't remember, perhaps thou wouldst take it as repented all the same. Oh, I know, my sister. Yes. When she started going on about Mother and Mrs. Weems, who, as thou knowest, runs the nursing home, and I said, Janice, I honestly do not want to sit here and listen to you going on about that woman who has been so kind to Mother. And Janice turned round and gave me one of those looks of hers. Well, of course, thou sawest the whole incident. And when I told her how clever I thought her children's drawings were, thou weren't as fooled for a moment. Neither was she, of course. Anyway, I'm really and truly sorry about it. In fact, I've been brooding about it ever since. And that's another thing I ought to mention, that the way I think about myself all the time, I mean, whenever I'm not thinking how wrong everything I do is. Dost thou know what I mean? Oh, well, of course thou dost. This seems to me to be my worst sin of all. I don't know whether thou wouldst agree with this assessment. I mean, what am I doing now? I'm talking about myself. But how can I confess this sin if I don't? Wait a minute. Am I just thinking that as an excuse for not thinking perpetually about my sins? That's one of the difficulties, knowing for certain which sin it is I'm committing here. And whichever it is, I'm really and truly sorry about it. Aren't I?